Hi, this is Dr. David Amakobe from W500G. Today we're going to talk about the challenges of research, in the sense that research sets and defines norms, particularly who the average Joe is. And everybody is gauged against the average Joe. That means the average Joe is the representative of an average person. That implies that to be able to be determine whether you are normal or abnormal or average, you must be gauged or judged against the average Joe. That means the society now looks at people depending on whether they fit or they don't fit. The data that determines who the average Joe is therefore important. And the person who determines is also important. We also think that all the people who will be, or all the populations that will be judged against the baseline of Joe should be included in determining who the average Joe in society should be. Otherwise, if only 12 people are included in the sample that determines who the average Joe is, the short people will get the short end of the stick. Or if the only short people are included in the sample of people who determine who is the average Joe in society, then the top people will get the short end of the stick, meaning houses will be, ceilings will be built lower, doors will be lower. So every time somebody, a tall person enters a building, he must like scoop. That happens in society a lot. It happened before the Disability Act, where buildings were constructed without a thought about how people on wheelchair would access the building. So we need people to think about that when they are thinking or talking about institutional racism. Nobody sets out to institutionalize racism, but society sets baselines using a sample that excludes a lot more people. After they have set that baseline, then they expect everybody else to meet that baseline. And if people don't meet that baseline, then they are considered other. So when you hear the word institutional racism, it's not saying that some people were bad or they sat down and decided this is what we're going to do. It is that they created norms and baselines that excluded certain populations, and then asked those populations to come into that society without including their limitations or other characteristics. Like I said before the Disability Act, we build houses and sheds without access for these people on wheelchairs, people who are not walking. Nobody thought anything about it until somebody thought maybe we should consider people who are on wheelchairs. Before that consideration, everybody thought this is how it should be. And a lot of people argued against making buildings or lifts that accommodate people on wheelchairs, or bathrooms that accommodate people on wheelchairs, because they only think about cost, they're only thinking about how it was, and the people who are on wheelchairs were considered as a nuisance. That's exactly the same way when we talk about institutional racism. When a police officer knows or is socialized to think that the baseline driver is a white person, every black person is an exception, and you need to be checked. Every teenager who is not white is stopped. It's not the police officer's problem, it's a societal problem. When the baseline resident of a community is white, any black person in that community, whether they live there or not, is an aberration. So it is the baselines that society sets and socializes the people that is important. And we've got to look at those. We have to look at the baseline society sets and the data it uses to set them, and the participants of the research that is used to get the information or the data that they use. It's only through that where we shall integrate all the attributes of all the populations and subpopulations that will come to a society that includes everybody. If you set a baseline using one population and you say we are allowing everybody to come in because now we are diverse, it is not going to be possible to include everybody, because structurally they already have been excluded. And it's not because they want to be excluded or the society wants to exclude them, but the society is structured in such a way that they are excluded or they are exceptions. If the baseline customer for a store is white, any black person coming there is an exception who need to be monitored. When you are sitting down and defining who your customer is, and marketing, this is done every day. It's not profiling, it's just deciding the our customer we expect in this store is ABCD and their attributes. That baseline customer. And then you socialize your employees as to who to expect. You can't blame them when they pick out only those people who don't look like them or who don't look like the profile you gave them. So, we want diversity, equality, and inclusion. We need to have diversity and inclusion in the research we do, in the participants who participate in the research, and in the researchers who carry out the research, because perspectives matter. Truth depends on where you sit or where you stand. There's no absolute truth. From where I'm standing, I may be seeing something else. From where you are sitting, you could be seeing something there. Both are true, but they are not absolutely true. So, as we consider diversity, equality, and inclusion programs, we need to look at the baselines, the norms that we're using, how they were set, which data was used to set them, which participants participated in the research, and who did the research. That is from me today. We see you in the next video. We discuss some other matters that concerns social and behavioral research. Thank you very much.